Today we're getting into a really harrowing story. It's an account from a man who believes he's trapped in a spiritual war, a war that's being waged by his own mother. And his family's lives? They're hanging right in the balance. This is a story about impossible choices, ancient beliefs, and just a desperate search for some kind of peace.
And it all kicks off with this one single desperate sentence. It comes from a man from Zimbabwe who's now living in South Africa, and he feels like he is at his absolute breaking point. His wife, who he describes as a real prayer warrior, is incredibly sick, and he's convinced the reason is, well, it's far from natural.
So, what is actually happening to his wife? Well, the crisis is immediate, it's physical. She has this mysterious illness that has completely baffled doctors. It's turned their lives totally upside down, and it's led him to believe the cause isn't medical at all.
I mean, look at these symptoms. They are severe and they are debilitating. She's a nurse, but she can't even work anymore. Just simple things like sitting down for a bit cause her legs to swell up painfully. He talks about having to prop her legs up on pillows all the time just to give her a little bit of relief. And he swears their life is good, you know? There's no stress, but her health is just collapsing.
So you have to ask, right? What is the source of all this sudden suffering? If it's not stress, and it's not some obvious medical thing, what's causing this? To really understand his fear, we have to go back in time, back to his family in Zimbabwe.
And this is where it gets really intense. The narrator believes the source of his family's pain is his own mother. Now, she is a traditional healer, a Sangoma, but he says that in her own village, people just called her evil. She was feared, not respected. Listen to how her own son describes her power. He says, "If my mother will say that you're going to die, you are going to die." Her words were literally seen as curses, and her will, it was seen as this unstoppable force. This wasn't just small-town gossip, it was a deep-seated fear.
And you can just feel his pain here. He draws this really sharp contrast. He's wondering, why can't my mother just be like other grandmothers? Wanting to see her grandkids do well. But instead, he believes she uses witchcraft on them just to make her own life longer. And instead of accepting the woman he loved, she tried to force him into this arranged marriage with another healer's daughter.
So this conflict over who he would marry, well, it had absolutely devastating consequences. When the narrator went against his mother and married his first love, he believes his mother's punishment was aimed at their most vulnerable point, their children.
And the pattern that followed was just horrifyingly consistent. 3 children, one after the other, born perfectly healthy. They'd even start to walk for about a month. And then, boom, suddenly this mysterious disability would strike, and they'd be left unable to walk again. All while he was having these terrible dreams of his mother being the one causing the harm.
This spiritual pressure, as you can imagine, it just became too much, and his first marriage ended. But what happened next? For him, this was the ultimate proof. His ex-wife moved on, she remarried, and she had perfectly healthy children. The problem wasn't his wife. It was him, and this curse that he believed was coming from his own bloodline.
So after moving to South Africa and starting a new family, even having a healthy child, the narrator decided, that's it, I have to fight back. He went looking for help to wage a spiritual war against the force that he was convinced was trying to destroy him.
So a healer tells him that his mother carries a specific kind of charm, known in the Shona language as Zwitsinga. The belief is that a person with this charm can curse a child with just a simple touch, basically siphoning their life force to make their own life longer. And he became convinced that this was the weapon that was used against his first 3 children.
So he was given a countermeasure, a really powerful go-back-to-sender prayer, and the instructions were very specific. For 7 straight nights, he had to perform this ritual that was meant to reflect the witchcraft right back to wherever it came from and expose the person who sent it.
And the effect, wow, it seemed to be immediate. On the 5th day of the prayer, he gets a phone call. His mother, who's hundreds of miles away in a whole other country, had fallen into a deep pit toilet and broken her leg badly. For him, this was it. The prayer had worked.
But then, the story takes this just awful, horrifying turn. He believes his mother was so powerful that she actually managed to overpower the curse and deflect it. And tragically, at that exact same time, his young nephew collapsed at school and died. The narrator is absolutely convinced that the deflected curse is what killed him.
Okay, so that brings us to something that happened very recently, A terrifying event that convinced the narrator that this war had followed him all the way to South Africa, and now it was targeting his new wife.
So picture this. You live in a suburban, gated community. Snakes are just not a thing there. Neighbors who've lived there for more than 10 years have never seen one. And then one day, out of nowhere, a huge snake appears in your yard.
Well, that's exactly what happened. His wife saw this snake, and with help from the neighbors, they started throwing bricks and stones at it, trying to kill it. But the snake, it just vanished.
And then came the phone call. At the exact same moment his wife was throwing rocks at the snake in South Africa, his cousin calls him from Zimbabwe, and he says his mother is screaming that people are throwing stones at her. For the narrator, there was only one conclusion to draw. The snake was his mother, visiting them in another form.
And so, that brings us right back to where we started, to the present day. His wife's health is failing. He's convinced his mother is the cause, and he is completely paralyzed by an impossible choice.
This quote from him, man, it just captures the essence of his entire existence. He feels this constant torment, a life with no peace, just caught between the mother who gave him life and the woman he's trying to build a life with.
I mean, just look at his options here. They are all terrible. If he confronts his mother, he's scared for his own life. If he tells his wife that her sickness is because of his mother's curse, he could lose her. If he just cuts his mother off completely, he's terrified she'll come back as a vengeful spirit when she dies. But if he does nothing, he believes he's just going to sit there and watch his wife die. And the narrator, he ends his story by asking for help. He is completely trapped in this web of family loyalty, deep-seated fear, and supernatural belief. So the question that this story leaves us with is a really heavy one. In a situation like this, what would you do?